Mother Funny Time with Andie and Angie.
2 cousins, 8 kids, 1 grandkid, 2 states.
And a whole lot of fun. Woo! Welcome back, Mother Funny Tribe. We hope you're feeling amazing right now. We hope all your children are well. There's no fevers or stomach plagues going around where you're at, but it's that season. So we're back with episode 2 of Mother Funny with Angie and Andy, talking about the back to school flu season, allergy season, you name it. It comes to
sickness
attack.
season.
Season of the sick. We'll call it season of the sick, season of the six. But this time we're going to talk more about tips, tricks, and when to take your child, our experiences on when to take your child to the doctor.
We also hope this is relatable, but doesn't stress you out because we don't want to go there, right? Like you start mentioning back to school sicknesses and it can immediately make moms like panic or stressed out or make them kind of just start spiraling. So we want to keep this lighthearted and happy and fun as we talk about sickness because we're here to help relate and to tell you we're here for you without bringing it too far down.
Yeah, we don't want to make sickness not fun. And we'd rather not deal with anything for real.
Let me live in fairyland. Let me live in fairyland.
Fairyland where everybody only throws up lollipops and gummy bears that are not digested.
Just saying, it could make moms panic a little bit. Or they start thinking about really negative things. So we're just here to say we are not professional doctors, although I think sometimes we know more than doctors.
I think so.
And I'm just going to say that. Once your kids are at school, I kind of feel like Godspeed. Like we're about to be exposed to everything. This idea of like, keep kids away, or like my child had a fever. It's like, well, they've already all been exposed at this point. You know, like I kind of feel like this idea, especially when you're carpooling. It's like, oh no, my kid went to the doctor. I'm like, well, they've been carpooling for the past 3 days. So we've all been exposed anyway. So it's kind of like a given. Like, okay, school's starting. We've had a really healthy summer. All the vitamin D in the world. It's been fantastic. And now it's like, all right, buckle up. Let's see what happens.
And if you want like a positive spin, it's
nice.
Our immune systems can be strengthened as we go through things, get stronger. You can learn how to deal with being sick. I know that I've known people who never get sick and then they've gotten sick for the first time like later, and they are like really struggle to deal with it because they don't know what it's like being sick. So it prepares you, it strengthens you. It's okay. Sickness comes. It's part of life. Your kids are probably going to get sick. Bring something home. You're probably all going to get it. I try to mitigate if we have something big or that we have to be at with how cautious we are. If there's something big coming up that we don't want to miss, that we really couldn't go to because we would get other people sick, then I'll be more careful, or being around somebody who's more maybe immunocompromised or whatever it is, or a little one, you know, you just want to be careful. So some tips or tricks. Angie, what do you do for your kids to keep them as healthy as you can?
Okay, well, I've mentioned the like vitamin drinks that my kids get, plus a lot of minerals. They drink a lot of milk. It's the like elderberry, apple cider vinegar, silver, which that can be controversial, but it's really not. Probiotics are huge. Extra vitamin C, stomach enzymes. Everyone should be on enzymes. Not that I want to push anything, but research enzymes. This has like been the past couple years learning about enzymes. That's huge. It's amazing. I think rest, the most important thing is staying hydrated. I have learned so much over the past few years, or definitely since I've had little ones, about how important it is to be hydrated. And so when your kid is sick, even like doctors will tell you, like, it doesn't matter as much that they're eating. It's more of like keeping them hydrated. And so sometimes you have to buy the popsicles because they'll at least have that, or the Gatorade, milk, water, whatever it is, juice, like just do whatever you can to keep them hydrated. So that way they don't take a turn. And then now they're risking like being dehydrated. So I think there's a lot of research out there, which is great and fantastic, but then there's also the research that will say like, "Oh, all of this is wrong." And so you kind of have to like figure out what's truthful, what's could be a little bit different, but also what your algorithm is can
I
change
know.
things.
Algorithms, yes, are
Talking
powerful.
with other moms.
Yeah.
And then some people are like against the gummies, the gummies,
The
the
gummies.
vitamin gummies, like vitamin gummies, elderberry gummies. Then other people are like pro gummies. And so it's also figuring out like, is this bad for their teeth? But is it okay if they take these gummies for a short amount of time? There's just so many opinions.
It's
So, if
true.
anything, do what you feel is right. We've
S
been living a different type of a lifestyle for about 7.5 years now. Anything, knock on wood, that they say possibly could have gone wrong hasn't.
well, the
So that's a
good.
blessing. That's a huge blessing. And sometimes if like my kids have a elderberry syrup and there's elderberry syrup can have a lot of sugar in it. The one they have does not have sugar in it. And it's just like Mary Poppins. Like, here you
The
go. Here's a
spoonful of
spoonful of
sugar.
elderberry. It just doesn't taste sweet. So we don't sing the song and they are not happy about it at first. But kids get used to things too.
Yeah.
Really? Magnesium, you kinda put that with some apple juice, they're good. I mean, if you kinda can hide it within juice is a good thing, or eventually their taste buds will adjust to it. I used to hate the taste of apple cider vinegar, I now drink apple cider
Oh,
vinegar with water. I love it, I actually like it, like, I'll drink it as if it's iced tea. I
that's
love it.
my
I used
husband.
to hate it.
He puts
So
it in
part of it
his
is changing
sparkling
their taste
water.
buds.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
you
it's
have to get
so
used to it.
healthy.
S
Honey's super healthy.
yeah.
It's a good sweetener, but it's also really healthy for the kids. Turmeric, that's really good to like help fight inflammation. There's so many things we could talk about forever. I would say if you are questioning it, people at Sprouts are very helpful. If you go to the vitamin section at Sprouts, those people know a lot of information about health, but also about certain supplements or like, oh, this brand might be better or try this. Incredible. I'm not saying they know all, but they know a lot. I have trusted the people at Sprouts and it has gone well.
Well,
So,
good.
the main thing's rest, but how do you get your kids to rest? That's a difficult one.
That's a hard
Unless
one,
they're
yeah.
sick. When they're sick, they'll rest, but
Yeah. Yeah,
the
no, that's
preventative
true.
sleep.
Yeah, I feel like with all of that stuff, with the what you're describing is more of the like alternative medicine or natural medicine, natural homeopathic kind of path. I feel like that kind of stuff can be helpful. And again, it's like you know your kids, you know your family, you know it works, you know it doesn't work, you know it seems to help or what doesn't help. And it's like trying different things. I think like letting a doctor who is a professional know, like, this is what I give my kids, like, that's always important. Like, because if there is something that comes up, like maybe they are getting too much of one vitamin or supplement that's not harmful, but then they have too much and it's like a weird symptom. So, stuff like that, I think is good. I think anybody trying to like sell a brand or make a lot of money, that's when I get more like, okay, you might be using the word doctor, but what kind of doctor are you and how much money? Like this is a, million billion dollar thing. So I usually
Right.
don't if I like I might follow someone and like really like what they say and try their suggestions, but I won't buy theirs. Because I'm like, you like, I'll give it a shot, but I'm not going to believe that you're the only person who's come up with this right thing because I'm not going to buy a $50 bottle when I can buy the same thing at Sprouts for 10 bucks and figure out, is this something that actually works or is it just another wives tale? I remember going to like I've been to doctors. I've had doctors laugh at me because I was really into garlic for a minute when my kids were little, and I'll tell you about that journey. But going to a doctor and being
Do you know you're poking
I
yourself
am,
with a
I'm
pencil?
thinking it's like my tick.
I don't know what's happening here.
I'm
Are
poking
you
myself,
drawing on yourself?
I'm thinking and poking myself. If you're watching us on YouTube, I have a blue colored pencil because there's pencils all around this desk. And I'm like
Okay,
thinking
is
with
that
pencil
your
because there's
thinking?
pencils all
Okay. I
around.
just
Thinking
looked over
pencil.
and my hand. Okay, is that
You
your
want to grab
thinking?
it? Are you
Okay.
trying
I
to
just looked over and my hand looked really small.
grab it?
So,
Okay,
yes,
so
ready go. Ready go. I'll get it.
get it. I can't get it because our my camera's still right here. Um, yeah, so, yeah, like,
I mean,
definitely
you can stay with the pencil. I was
it
a
just
little
was it distracting?
well, I just wasn't
Pulling in
sure.
my eyebrows and a
Why do we
mustache.
all make that face when we, like yes.
Make the eyebrows.
No, make the eyebrow, like, face like, you don't even put on mascara? Like, why are
Yeah.
we doing
Well,
that?
because you
Like,
gotta get those
why?
eyelashes up. I'm putting my mascara on with my blue pencil. So, anyway, back to the doctors. Yeah, I've talked to doctors, medical professionals, and I'll bring up these things like, "This is what I hear is good. This what do you think?" And I like their usually the doctors I pick because they're reasonable people. You know what I mean? Like, they're willing to give homeopathic medicines a chance or more natural medicines, and I'm finding now that, like, the doctor I have now, she prefers natural ways to heal something before resulting to medicines, though she's not opposed to medicines, and I really like that balance, especially for my kids, but the funny thing is when Shiloh was a baby, again, there was not much internet, like, there might have barely been MySpace, I don't remember, it's 2005, but
MySpace.
yeah, did I
I
distract
never
you?
had one.
Hmm. You would
I
have
never
been
had a MySpace account. I didn't.
I
Some of my
did.
friends did.
I had one.
Whatever
Anyway,
happened to MySpace?
I don't know, try, maybe you can make one. It's not too late.
Retro things are back in.
They
I get a flip
are,
phone and
maybe
a
we can get
MySpace
it back,
account.
maybe there's less, like, political ads on MySpace.
Oh, they don't know our algorithm
Yeah,
yet.
they don't.
I'm
Maybe
going back
MySpace
to
never had
MySpace.
algorithm.
Yes,
You
it
won't
was
have to
before
get
the
any more
time.
perimenopause ads.
Dude, I knew when we did that podcast, I was in for it.
And you're
And I
welcome.
was right.
You're gonna
I
be
was right.
ready.
I was
You're
like,
gonna be ready. It's coming up faster than Anyway, back to the doctors. When
yes.
Shiloh was little, I had read this thing, and I'm gonna point it with my pencil, where if you, like, crush garlic, put it in a paper towel, put it under, wrap it up, put it under a paper towel, wet it for, like, a second, just wet, and then to hold it on, like, if they have a cold, like, their head, the back of their neck, their chest, but you gotta be careful because it could burn if you hold too long, bottom of their
Oh.
feet, and no joke, Shiloh was sick, I did it within moments, like, rivers of green slime came out of her nose, her nose, and she, like it all came out and she got better, so I'm like, "Oh, this is the cure all." So, she
What?
didn't have to have antibiotics for a while, but then she hit, like, 5 years old, and I'm like, "Let's chop up this garlic," and she always smelled like a pizza restaurant because I was always garlicking her when she got sick, but it worked. But then she hit sometime in her toddlerhood, I tried it, it didn't work anymore. Never worked for anyone else, never worked again, so I don't know what that was. As long as these things aren't harmful, like, yeah, try them, see if they work, let them go, like, it's not what can it
I still
do?
love the essential oils. Like, I still am holding on. I love the
Well, I have
essential
some
oils.
people you can get in contact with who'd love to get together with you over coffee. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I told you one time, like, Brian got into the essential oils first, and then, like, that is, like, that multi-level marketing, whatever. But he was telling someone else about it, and then she, like, ordered, but, like, they put Ryan as, like, the person that they, like who referred Ryan to them, and then all of a sudden, her and her friends and, like, it was all these people, like, he wasn't trying to, like, do that, he was just telling someone about it. Yeah, we got free essential oils for a very long time. Like,
Nice.
it was incredible. It just that was just a happenstance thing. But I'm all about that. It was just even Vicks, right? Like, you can do
Vicks.
Vicks
Vicks
for
was my
sure.
mother-in-law's cure-all. Like, no joke. She
Oh.
would be like, "You have a bruise? Vicks. You have anything, Vicks." I'm not kidding. But yeah, whenever
Oh.
we're like any of my kids are sick, my grandkids, I'm sick, Vicks. I'm putting Vicks on their chest. It helps.
The thing I'm was afraid of was the fever. I still like fevers still to this day make me nervous. So if it's 100.4, that's a fever. If it's 100.5, that's considered a high fever.
You mean 104?
No, 100.4.
Just 100?
Yeah, but if it's 100.5, that's considered a high fever.
Really?
Yes. In case anyone wants to know. So when you go to
I'm
the
educated.
doctors, yeah, and they're like, "It's a high fever," you could say it's 100.6, they will consider that a high fever.
Oh,
100.4, they're like, "Okay, somewhat
that's
of a
so
fever."
interesting. It's just point 0.1
Right.
off.
But that's okay, this is how I know.
Okay.
Peyton had a febrile seizure.
Oh, so scary.
So scary, middle of the night, one of the scariest moments of my life. And like the ambulance got called and the like fire department was there. It was just a super scary, crazy situation. She ended up being okay. What no one understood though was that her fever was only 101.4, which is actually pretty low. To have a febrile seizure, that's actually very, very low because febrile seizures usually happen when it's much, much higher. I mean, they kept taking her temperature and I mean, it was even in the ambulance and it was very surprising that her fever, that technically was so low. So after that, anytime her fever got to 100.5, we started having to do the Motrin Tylenol combo to keep her fever down.
Oh,
She never could have a fever of 100.5 or higher. Or if she did, we
wow.
really had to like intervene with medications to prevent a febrile seizure. She never had a seizure after that. It was just a super random thing. None of my other kids had seizures before. Thank God no one's had one since. But that was something that I became very aware of. And I am a person who uses multiple thermometers. Like I'm not going to trust just one type. Like I have multiple, I'm going to use them and I'm like I would write down and make charts. Like it was very like I was on top of it.
Scientific.
And, like, so Peyton needed the Motrin Tylenol combo. Tegan only needed Motrin, and that would keep it down. So even for kids, like, what works for one, you
Right.
might have to do something completely different for another one. But I didn't really even know what to do for fevers. Like, up until that point, I hadn't even had a kid who was a fever kid. You know, some kids just
Right.
randomly get more fevers than other kids. Of course, Peyton, the one who struggled or had the febrile seizure, she was the one who would get fevers a lot. I'm like, "Man, that's a bummer."
Wow.
So
Yeah, my kids, like, never ran super high fevers until Shiloh. Shiloh would run super high fevers. She never had a seizure, but when she got sick, her fever would be like I tell you when she had pneumonia, did I tell this story how she had pneumonia? And I thought, like, she had a cold for a while, it got stuck in her chest. Obviously, the garlic stopped working. She was probably, like,
right.
4 years old. I took her to the doctor, and they were like, "Oh, it's just a cold. She's fine." I'm like, "No, she's had this fever," but I'd given her like Tylenol or Motrin or whatever. They took her fever. It was not high enough. It was like 99 at the doctor's. So they sent me home with nothing. They're like, "Well, just, rest, blah, blah, blah." The next day, she was still sick. The next day, she was still sick. And finally, I'm like, "Okay, tomorrow I'm taking her back in, but I'm not giving her the Motrin because I want them to take it seriously." I bring her in. She's at 104. And they're like,
Oh,
"Why didn't you
no.
give her medicine?" I'm all, "Because you guys wouldn't take it seriously, like, because she's had this fever for days and you told me it was fine." And then they're like, "Well, we need to do chest X-rays," and they did chest X-rays and she had pneumonia, like, she had stuff in her lungs. So, I was like whenever, like, I
Oh.
would go to the doctors or the pediatrician with my kids when they were sick, if they had a fever, I wouldn't give it to them, and I usually got in trouble, but I'd be like, "Look, if you guys like, if I'm bringing my child in and there's not a symptom, like, that you can really see or you just see a little bit, you're not gonna do the extra test or you're not gonna take it as seriously." And maybe that's changed because this was a long time ago. It was another state, but yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, if you come in with it usually I had everything written down like at, 4
Oh,
PM, this was her fever, I gave her this medication, it took this amount of time for her fever to go down. Like, I usually came in with a lot of information. Because again, we couldn't risk Peyton having a fever
yeah.
even
Well,
over
that's different.
100.5. So I even for my other kids, like when you come in with a lot of information, they're like, "Okay, you're not just making it up."
Well,
Because you're right, it's that issue.
I feel like a detective when I come in. I'm like, "I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, we've tried this, we've had this. This is what you look like at this point." I feel like I come in, but I don't write it down, but I would tell them, like, "Here's everything." But they're also dealing with a lot of different people and a lot of different personalities, and they've seen a lot. So, but, like those mama instincts, a lot of times, like we're talking about, and you're like, "This is what works. doesn't work. This is an issue or this isn't an issue.
And
So,
that's part of it is being rational and reasonable, like, when you're trying to figure out what your child may or may not have. I know sometimes as moms, we really want it we just start worrying and worrying. I mean, sometimes
yes.
with, like, Peyton, like, I would almost start to, like, go to panic mode because 'cause I'd be so worried, like, I wouldn't sleep all night because I was
Yeah.
constantly, like, checking on her. But then it's that idea of, like, okay, well, worry gets you nowhere. Like, where is the point
Yeah.
of, like, okay, this is not healthy for them, and it's not healthy for me either. You know, like, you can only do so much as a mom, and obviously even under, like, a doctor's care where it's like, "Okay, I also still need to find peace, find calmness, like, I need to sleep at some point." What can you do so you're not at that point when you're, like, panicking? Because then your child can feel your stress also, and now they're stressed out, and they might be
Yes, and they're
worried,
like,
and
"Am
they're
I
not like
dying?"
right, and it's like, "No, you just have a fever. We're gonna check you every 5
It's
minutes."
normal. Fevers are pretty normal to the human existence.
Right, but so
People have
it's
lived
this
before.
finding that balance of being, like, on top of it, aware of it, you are doing the best possible thing you can. I do feel like if I'm going to the doctor, like, I'm looking for something. You know what I mean? Like, this is everything I've
Yeah.
done. Like, I need some type of a medication or some type of a direction, or we need a plan because everything I've done up until this point. The pediatrician's office that we've gone to recently for the past couple years, this is what they always say, "Okay, perfect." And then they, like, write things down. "Okay, perfect." I'm like, "Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know."
My
No
child has
matter
another is growing a whole other head. Okay,
okay,
perfect.
perfect. Like, whether it's a well child checkup appointment, whether they're there for if they're sick, like, it's just and they're, like, sitting there, like, writing it down or they're typing it up, and I'm like, "I we're a couple years in with this pediatrician's office. I still have yet to find out what okay, perfect actually means." I guess when you kind of see when something's a little off, or if you just notice, like, they're more lethargic. I don't know, I'm a pro go to the doctor kinda person.
I'm a pro me I mean, I am as well, and let me tell you why, because that's what we have insurance for. And as long as it's like, your deductible's not crazy, like, if you have insurance, like, and you have the time, you can take your child and take them. I mean, you do risk getting your kids catching whatever's over there, even though at Daisy's pediatrician, they have a sick kids waiting area and a healthy kids waiting area, which I think is fantastic. Because my kids would like we go to the doctor and then they would come home with something new, and I'd be like, "Well, that could have been the doctor's office where you got that little treat." But, yeah, I think if it's really worrying you too as a mom, it's okay to go, even if it's to give you a peace of mind because these kids are like they're so precious to us. And the thought of them being sick or suffering or anything bad happening can be so stressful that even if it's for the mom's peace of mind, that's okay. It's okay to go. Like that's what it's for. So my advice would be if it's really stressing you out, just go and get that peace of mind. Even for the doctor to say it's okay. I mean, you always do want to get a little something. Like it's a bummer when you go and they're like, just drink water. And you're like, okay, here's $50. But if you're like, you got a good plan, you have a good peace of mind, great. And sometimes it's more.
Or if it's a Friday. Go if it's a Friday, because you don't want him to
Yes.
get sicker on a
It's
Saturday, because then
always
you're ending up in urgent care. Go on a
It's
Friday.
always Thursday nights where I'm like, "We are going tomorrow because if this we're gonna nip this in the bud now because I am not this is not going over the weekend." Yes, that's so true. That's with everything. I always end up calling a doctor or a vet or dentist or whatever it is. I'm like, "I need a I need something by Friday." So, absolutely. Now I'm gonna share a tip or trick from my daughter who's dealing with her very first toddler well, I not her very first toddler cold because he's had plenty of colds, but what she's doing right now because he's very congested, he has fevers on and off. I think his fever's gone now, but that's typical for him. He typically gets fevers. Like, whenever we travel, he always gets fevers for, like, a day or 2. Yeah.
Oh,
That's his
no.
thing. He loves travel, but he gets a fever almost every time. Um, she's using that Zarabees, I think it's that elderberry natural cough syrup. Sh
Zarbies?
Zarbee's. Look, I don't have a toddler.
I'm not judging.
I felt a little bit.
I kinda like the way you said it.
Zarbies. Yes,
Zarabies.
Zarabies,
You're
Zarbies. It's
you're
at
so fancy.
Target. You can get it in the children's aisle.
It's the generic Zarbies.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. She had generic.
They added an A, Zarabies. Tell me
Zarabies.
about Zarabies.
But she said
Does
it
that
worked.
work?
She says it totally works. That's what she said.
Wow.
That's what she
Remember
said.
Highlands? That stuff worked.
Yes, so that one
And
worked
they
for
got
her.
recalled. Remember Highlands?
Yes, they did those teething tablets.
Yes! Yeah, those all got recalled. It was a
I'm like,
huge
"That they
bummer.
never worked." I tried the Highlands teething.
Oh, they did.
They
I
didn't work
thought
for
they did
us.
until they got recalled, and then it was a huge bummer. I was like, "No." How bad were they?
I don't know. They didn't work for my kids. My kids just needed the old Tylenol. Um, yes, and then she has a humidifier. I think those are
Yes,
huge,
humidifier's huge, yeah,
especially when it
100%.
gets dry or wherever you're at, like, it's just miserable. It gets
You can
drier here.
also do, like, the humidifier and diffuse oils.
Yes, she just got a diffuser. I was
Nice.
gonna say she got it she has a diffuser, diffusing oils. She said there's now, like, kids' bath, like, bath bombs that have, like, a eucalyptus scent for when they take a bath, you put these little, like, drops, like, for when they're sick and they're eucalyptus, and then there's a couple of those kinds of things, and then yeah.
Or you could take coconut oil, and then you put in, like, the essential oils on your hands, and you rub them on the child's bottom of their feet, front of their feet, shin, back sometimes,
Which
neck,
oil?
depending on what it is. Oh, there's a whole bunch, depending on what the sickness is and depending on which brand. If it's like a cough, like that's RC and Raven. Thieves was amazing. You can drink that too. Kids won't want to drink that. Even lemon. There's so many. I'm not selling it anymore. I never
But
fully
if
sold
you do
it.
buy it, put Angie as your, like,
No,
representative.
we don't even like no. But oils, there's something to the oils. It's so easy. But yeah, humidifiers are huge. Everyone right now needs to make sure their humidifiers working.
Yeah, that's the thing. Don't get caught, like, with a cold and not having your humidifier because it's happened to us a few times, and I've, like, "Hey," given it out to somebody else, like, who need they were like, "Hey, I need a humidifier," so I'd bring 'em one, and then I'm like, "Man, I'm sick," and I'm like, "I don't have a humidifier," so
And get the bigger ones. Like, sometimes you don't realize the size when you're buying it on Amazon, and it's like, "Oh, this is a tiny little humidifier. No wonder why it was only $20." Like, you need the bigger ones. Okay, opening children's medication with a childproof lock.
Oh.
How difficult can that be sometimes? Like, especially if it's in the middle of the night and you're like, "Why won't it open?"
Or the plastic covering it. They m Oh my goodness. I think especially, like, the generic brands, I don't know what they do with their plastic, but they kinda melt it onto the bottle so that it, like, becomes one with the bottle, and then you're, like, using scissors and knives in the middle of the night to try to, like, cut through the plastic to get it to open it. Yes. Yes, it's very secure, though. Yes, so
I understand why we need to have child caps, and I get it, but
sure.
it's a little extreme right now. Like, it seems like it's kind of taken a turn, right? Like, we are determined if adults can't even open it.
You know, everybody's just dying, and you're like they find your, like, bones, and you just have your hands on the bottle. You couldn't open it.
Can't. I couldn't open it. We
Well,
should mention what moms go through real quick. I know we're, like, running out of time. Logistics, like, when your child gets sick
yeah.
and you're trying to, like, "Oh, no," like, for moms who work outside the home, now they have to take
Oh
a day
my
off from
goodness.
work or
Yeah.
well, and moms who work inside the home too, their whole schedule has just changed, or say you're in a carpool situation, and
Yeah.
now it's like, "Oh, my kid's not at school, I don't need to pick up your child now," or, "Oh, that child got sick, so now, like, your child needs a ride home." So, like, what moms have to plan and figure out the second their child does get sick, and it's like, if they're staying home from school or staying home from daycare, moms usually, not to be stereotypical, but usually are the ones trying to plan that schedule and change that schedule around.
And I think that goes along with, like, getting the vibe from your other friends because you know how there's that thing where, like, your kid's sick and there's, like, they're gonna be around your friend's kid, and you have to get the vibe like, "Hey, so my child is sick." 'Cause then you have some moms who are like, "Absolutely not, keep them away, they'll be fine," and then you have other moms like, "I don't care." So it's always like, you know which moms can handle what colds or sicknesses. There's some moms who are like, "No," like, more exposure therapy, and other moms are like, "Keep that out of my house."
I mean, it is kinda nice, this idea of, like, your child's immune system is being built up. However, it is so stressful for moms at some point. Like,
It is stressful, and nobody likes to be sick. I hate headaches and stuffy noses. Like, when you can't breathe through your nose, it's because you can't sleep.
so when you get a sinus infection, you're out.
Oh,
Like,
I
that's the
hate it.
worst.
I hate it. I powered through so many and, like, it's horrible, but now I'm really good at doing the sinus rinse, so I don't get there, and I'm really
I
good at
mean,
handling my allergies.
see? So you're staying on top of it.
I'm on
That's
top of
good.
it, and the first sign of it, I'm calling in, I'm like and I'll do a telehealth because as an adult, I'm like, "Look, I know I have it. You probably don't know I have it, but what's it gonna hurt to give me a little bit of meds? What's it gonna hurt you to give me some of those antibiotics?" And they're usually like, "Fine." So, yeah, I don't
That's
get
a
much
good
anymore.
point for people to check their insurance, because some insurances, the telehealth appointments are free. We had that for a while.
Nice. It's so helpful. We were in Portugal and Shiloh got a sinus infection, and I knew that's what it was.
Portugal?
We were in Portugal. We had been in Romania. She had gotten sick, and I'm like, "Dude, it turned," because like all of us got the same cold, but all of us got better pretty quickly. Hers just started to get better and just got worse and worse, and she was miserable. And I'm like, "Dude, it's a sinus infection." So telehealth, they give you a prescription, go right to the pharmacy. She was better. She got a Z-Pack. She was better like 2 days of medication, she started feeling better. It was great. Or even a day, I think a full
Worldwide.
day. Yeah, maybe it's 2 days.
Amazing.
Yeah. Tip or trick.
Does not matter where you are in the world. You make that telehealth
I feel
appointment.
like the telehealth doctors are way more like, "Yeah, we'll give you meds." Like, that's what we're really here for.
Unless you have a child. They don't really prescribe antibiotics
Oh, for
over the
kids?
phone. Yeah, for children. They will, hook you up, though, if you need medication for the croup, because it's like, "Here, listen to my kid."
They're all, okay, there you go.
Or you can, like, videotape them coughing, and then you, like, send it, right? You, like, upload it, and the doctor can, like, watch the video, and it's like, "Yeah, that kid's got croup." Like, that one's pretty easy. Anything else, they're like, you might need to." But for adults, just try it. Might be cheaper to have a telehealth
Yes.
appointment,
It's fantastic.
and you can stay in your pajamas.
Yeah. You know how many times I haven't gotten antibiotics from telehealth? 0. But I only call them if I'm like, I need like, that's the only time because otherwise I can get through it, but if I know. Anyway, that's not well, that does have to do with back to school because you're probably gonna get sick too. So you
We
can
hope you don't.
we hope you don't. I'm not, like, cursing people.
I'm just trying to, like I reject what Andy
I
said.
reject all illnesses and any powers of illness.
I reject that. I will not. I am manifesting good health for everyone.
Well, then you might not have enough faith. If anybody out there gets sick, it's because Angie doesn't have enough faith.
No.
That's all
Stay
I have to
healthy, my
say. Stay
friends.
healthy,
Stay
stay
healthy.
strong, and we'll talk about something super sad or tragic or happy next time. Who knows?
Yay! Like us, share us
Yes, find us on YouTube. Mother
at Mother
Funny
Funny
at
Podcast
Mother Funny Podcast with
with
Andy.
Andie and
If
Angie.
you
Yeah, with our names.
subscribe, if you already subscribe, then it'll be in your subscriptions, and then you won't have to look it up every time.
Yeah. So
So,
do that. Like us.
yeah, share us. All right. Till next time.
Bye.
All right, that's all we have time for today. We got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But just remember, you might think you're doing just okay, but we think you're doing really great.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you have a great Mother Funny day. Please like and share our podcast.
But please don't tell our moms.